Scott, thank you for coming to the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
So Oliver Wyman's been in China now for 15 years, covering a variety of sectors. What do you see within that time from your clients in terms of sentiment and requests that you've had?
And I think the single biggest change is at the beginning of that 15 years, what most of the companies were interested in was best practice from different spots in the world. How were other companies in other countries doing things? How were they organized? How did they think about strategy? How did they think about the market? And as the Chinese companies have become bigger, more successful, more confident, I think they're far less interested in best practices from around the world. They're more interested in specifically what's happening in China. And foreign best practice, while not irrelevant, has become far less important.
Are those companies still aiming to then move abroad in the future?
Yeah, I think many of the Chinese companies still have global ambitions, and they'll need to learn about other markets as they move into them. They're not that interested in how big American or English or French companies are running themselves, or not nearly as interested as they used to be.
And within China then, what would you say is the big future industry that you see that's really growing?
I mean, almost every industry is growing, as you know, but the really exciting developments we see happening are in retail, where I think the Chinese have moved from a position of learning and exploring to really leading the world in all of the trends around retail, all the way from payments, at a technical end, to customer experience as well. And I think the other area that's really interesting is the whole manufacturing supply chain in China, where the potential to automate that and make it work faster and better and more efficiently is incredible if they can get it right.
On the flip side, China's been opening up its financial system quite a lot to attract a lot of foreign investment. Do you see that working? Is there a lot more demand from foreign companies really wanting to come into China, or what do you see?
So I think as China grows and matures, that's the main driver of the demand for foreign companies wanting to come into China. They don't want to end up in 5 years without a position in China. But the opening up of markets or the deregulating of various areas, I think, has a positive effect. And the more of that that's done, the more the demand there'll be.
And you're based out of a mixture between New York and London. What do you see in terms of changing sentiment, especially with the trade war at the moment, affecting a lot of sentiment? So what do you see? So
I think most of the business community I interact with still hopes and thinks that the trade issues will be settled at one point, hopefully soon. So the demand to still learn about China, invest in China, is significant and remains significant. I haven't seen it slow down very much, except in very specific, highly sensitive sectors like tech, for instance. But it's taken some time now. So I think there is a bit of a turn in sentiment around the world just because of the uncertainty, thinking let's just hold on until we see how things play out.
And because of the trade war, do you see US companies and Chinese companies shifting their focus in terms of where they want to expand abroad? So for instance, Southeast Asia. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think as they pause and wait for the end of the trade negotiations, no one wants to stop moving. So they're looking for where else they can expand now. And I think Southeast Asia is seeing and will see a pickup. Right across the region, we see more discussions, more partnerships being struck than there were before the trade war.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming to the studio, Scott, and it was great to chat.
Thank you for having me.